So I went to Africa. I gotta tell you about it. Thank you so much, Luminar, for sponsoring this video. I'm excited to show you how I edit photos from the safari trip in Luminar Neo. I'm gonna show that to you in just a little bit. I'm actually sitting here and I don't even know where to start with Africa. So go on this trip. By the way, this trip was not sponsored by anyone. The amount of messages I got on that one, little unreal. Y'all need to be concentrating on something else. This trip was not sponsored by anyone. It was a group of photographers. I knew a couple of people like Jared Polin and Manny Ortiz and Jared's friend Katie and Jared's friend Troy. So I knew like a couple of people. The other people that were on the trip, two incredible MLB photographers, the official photographers for the Cubs and the official photographer for the Kansas City Royals, as well as Kansas City Royals star catcher Salvador Perez. It was quite the group, as well as just professional photographers and hobbyist photographers. I have to say, the 12 of us together were something else. And you want that when you travel with people, and I know because I host these photo trips, right? I've been to Italy and Croatia. We're going to Bali. You can look in the link below. There's a link on if you want to come to Bali with us next year. So the group of people that you travel with, like that's your travel family. You just better hope there are no bad eggs in there. There are no bad eggs in my travel family, for the record. And there weren't any here in Africa. Now, if you want to hear about the gear that I brought with me, that is in this other video here. Broke it down for you, but I want to tell you about what I found to be successful. And yes, I'm going to tell you some Jared Polin stories, because you're with Jared Polin for like 12 days. Of course there's stories.
Sun's out, guns out.
What are most people asking me? Are you scared? That's the biggest question I have right now. Well, to be honest, you're in these safari vehicles and there's no doors. I mean, there's a cute little door, but not like a real door. There's no windows. There's nothing in between you and like imminent death by shredding from a lion and a lion mama with her cubs. And I was about 4 feet away from Mama Lion and her cubs, and she is just staring down my lens. I didn't stop shooting, for the record. I stopped breathing, but I didn't stop shooting. Now, we all had our own cars. So the car that I was in, it was Manny Ortiz and me, Katie, Rook, and Jared. So the 4 of us were in one car, and then the other groups were split up into 2 other cars, groups of 4 in each car. And we had both a driver and a scout. So one person was driving, and just one note about the driving, you are bumping around. Like, I would never put my kids in that car. They would bounce right the heck out. You are driving up hills, going through water. Yes, we did get very, very stuck and have to be pulled out. And it took like an hour to get out, even with the pulling. It is absolutely crazy. And my favorite was probably, because you have to get up before sunrise, my favorite was probably getting up at 4:30 in the morning to drive an hour and a half to Amboseli, I'm probably saying that wrong, National Park, in the dark, like in the dark, through water, through trees, and all of this craziness bouncing around. I don't know if this video footage I took even does it justice, but that was probably like one of the scariest rides of my entire life. Definitely have gray hair from the driving. Let me stop right there before I get into too many stories and other things in gear. And I want to show you some of the final photos, because I've been talking a lot, and why not look at some photos? So let's get into editing with Luminar Neo. Now, Luminar Neo is a really special editing program. It has AI functionality within here. So using it to edit my photos, okay, let me just show you this one example. So I have this photo. Cute little lion cub. I have to admit, yes, this does happen to even me. I take blurry photos. So I edited this photo in Lightroom first, and that's one I actually, unfortunately, ended up posting on Instagram. But then I pulled this same photo of this cute little cub getting a bath. Oh my gosh. And I pulled it into Luminar and used their super sharp, which is like AI sharpening, and you can do universal or motion based, low, medium, high, and face enhancer. Look at the difference that this made in this particular photo. I cannot believe how much sharper this photo is. And to be honest, on social media, did anybody even notice it? It was a little bit soft, a little bit of motion blur in there because I was like panicking probably, like freaking out that this absolutely adorable cub was, I don't know, 5 feet from me. No, maybe not on social media, but then it started to bother me. So I love the fact that Luminar Neo was able to make this photo 100 times better, corrected for my user error there, and it was just incredible. But looking at the rest of the lion photos here, I mean, I loved the ability of being able to just pull out that texture and that roughness when it came to the photo itself, using the dodge and burn features, upping the texture and the regular development settings. And then what was fun with some of the line ones was using the studio light to really change and shape and mold how I wanted the light to look, because that's the one thing when you're in Africa, you just have no control over the lighting situation. I mean, you move your safari vehicle to hopefully get yourself in the best shot, but it's not like you had, a softbox out there. We're not lighting this like that. Using Luminar Neo really was a lot of fun for my Africa photos. You can check out in the description below a little link that they've got for you there. And of course, they sponsored this video and helped make all of this possible. So now let me get back to some of the story. We spent most of the time hunting for animals, not actually hunting, but hunting to photograph them. And that's what most of your time on a safari is spent doing, driving around. The driver and the scout are radioing to people like, have you seen a lion? Have you seen a leopard? Where are the elephants? Are they crossing the road right now? And then you drive around to these places, stop, and then take pictures. Now, you're not allowed outside of the cars, but you can hang a monopod outside. I chose not to bring a monopod, and you know what? I'm happy about that decision. I did, however, use my foot as a monopod quite a lot, because getting lower on these shots really makes some of the photographs here, because the advantage of being on a safari is the nature, and you're able to show a more flattering landscape when you're a little bit lower, get that horizon line a little bit lower, especially since the animals are shorter than humans, with the exception of the giraffes and elephants, right? So you getting down low is just going to give that perspective that shows the vista. I'll get back to that one. That shows the vista and shows that you're not in a zoo taking photos. The close-up shots are awesome. I love them, and I definitely want to talk about photographing with the R1 versus the R5 too. But that wider shot that shows that you are photographing the animals in their element, in nature, is what makes these so special, or one of the reasons it makes it so special, aside from how close you can get. Now, the animals are pretty used to the safari trucks, and visually they process it as like one big thing, not like a bunch of little humans they could tear apart. So they aren't really bothered by it. Every once in a while, an elephant, however, will get bothered by a car. Just something to note. Now let's jump into some editing. This time, let's edit some elephants. Now, with elephants, one of the big things I'm really concentrating on editing has to do with the color. So the color, yes, elephants are gray, sort of. They have a little bit of blue. They've got a little bit of like orange going on. So editing in Luminar Neo, really honing in on the color was key, and bringing out just the, how do I phrase it? It's like the grandness of them, and that texture and that ruggedness. That's a word I was looking for. Just like this regal ruggedness that these elephants have. But one of the other things with the elephants was the backdrop. So when it comes to the backdrop for the elephants, unfortunately, it was a cloudy day, so I really didn't have much control over blowing out the background. Like, that was my choice. Did I do some where I was able to like get a little bit of the texture, a little bit of something happened in the sky? Yeah, but then I was really pulling out my shadows. That was one of the biggest problems. So with Luminar Neo, not only pulling out all of that texture, all of that ruggedness, but having the capability to drop in skies that looked really natural and complemented the image rather than to go away from it was one of my favorite things to do here. So being able to work in the color harmony tab really helped me hone in exactly how I wanted these elephants to look, messing around with the color balance and that split color warmth, and just trying to get a really dramatic look out of these photos, which is the opposite of what I do for weddings. But it was it was a lot of fun to play with, and the power in what I was able to do was absolutely incredible. All right, now let me tell you more about the trip. Oh, that reminds me though of one of the annoying Jared Polin stories. He kept using the word vista. it was like a broken record. Look at the vista. Look at the vista. I bet you I have some B-roll right now I can show you with Jared Polin saying vista.
And see what the wider vista looks like. That's a yes.
It's a beautiful vista.
How beautiful this vista is.
And
guys.
we have to
shut up
walk.
and turn the camera around and show the vista.
I don't like this vista.
I'm making fun of her.
I don't like this vista.
You don't like this vista?
I don't like it yet. Anyway, I mean, you spend enough time with each other, like day in, day out, sunrise to sunset, and it's not like there are any distractions. Reception, Wi-Fi, it's practically non-existent, so you're bound to annoy each other. I'm sure Manny and Jared and some of the other people can talk about how I annoy them. I certainly am not perfect and definitely have cringe-worthy moments.
Oh, look at me, I'm on safari, I'm Vanessa Joy, I'm so special.
That's literally how you opened your vlog. But let's talk a little bit about the gear. Let me just tell you what I didn't end up using. I brought the RF 16mm 2.8 because I was thinking I might want some wide shots. You know what? Never put that lens on my camera. Not once. I just ended up not needing it. Most of the Mara, we were in the Masai Mara. The Mara is wide open for the most part. So I barely even put on my 20-70. I know that's shocking. I use that RF 20-70 f2 constantly for my weddings and portraits and corporate jobs and even landscapes in my corporate jobs. But here, I used it for a couple of sunset shots and that's pretty much it. What I used the most was the 85mm 1.2. I actually did end up using that lens a lot for the landscapes and some of the more overall vista views. That worked really, really well. And then primarily, I used the RF 100-300 f2.8. That is perfect. And then I used it both with and without the 1.4 extender. I have zero regrets that I did not bring a 600mm or a dedicated 400mm. That 1-300 with my 1.4 extender was absolute perfection. The only thing I would probably do differently if I went on safari again is I would bring a 2x extender because sometimes I just wanted that little extra oomph. And if that happened, I actually ended up taking that lens off of my R1 and I threw it on my R5 Mark II because the R5 Mark II is a 45 megapixel camera. And if there was a shot where I was just taking it, I'm like, you know what? I wish I could get a little closer. I know, Jared, just cringe and roll over in your grave. You're not dead, but roll over in your grave and cringe. I cropped it. I know. I cropped it. I cropped a lot. I cropped to my heart's content because 45 megapixels, hot damn, I can. You know what? It looks good still. The R1, however, I have to talk about the performance. Pre-shooting, both on the R1 and the R5 Mark II, the pre-shooting was absolutely key for photographing birds right before they take off into flight. I don't know that I would put it on all the time, but I did not turn it off. The only thing I really switched while I was shooting, I was photographing in high continuous, or really I stayed in low continuous. I didn't even go to like H or H+. I just stayed in continuous shutter. I just didn't need to photograph 40 frames per second. I find it to be unnecessary. And I took about 9,000 photos versus Jared Polin took like 49,000 photos. And I don't think he got any more moments than I did or any more a higher number of final photos that were great. But I definitely got lower, much more manageable set of photos. Under 10,000, perfect. Perfect for me to deal with, and I'm happy with that. But the pre-shooting was absolutely necessary because there's no way I'm reacting fast enough to get that perfect, like, jumping off of a perch that a bird is going to do and get the wings flapping that are so super fast. With them, I would definitely go more into high speed or ultra high speed continuous on my motor drive, and that was great. Now, the other thing that I really enjoyed about the R1, and when I would choose to pick up the R1 specifically, it was when things were moving really fast, right? We're watching a cheetah run around and play, lions running around and play. I would pick up the R1. The focus anticipated the motion and it tracked it really well, not just when it was happening, but also when it went behind things. At one point, we were stalking these cheetahs who were stalking a gazelle, and they were going in and out of the brush. And the R1 did a phenomenal job tracking that cheetah as it went behind all the brush. And, you know, someone was next to me shooting something else and did not have that kind of success, I'm just saying. By the way, let me talk about your roommate. Now, if you go on safari, it is extremely important that you have a roommate that knows how to shoot around you and you know how to shoot around them with good etiquette. Now, there are a couple things that I just thank you, Manny. And I attribute this because he used to be a wedding photographer, and I think that's why he knows how to work so well with me, or we work well with each other. But we both knew how to, like, one of us would be up on the seat area, one of us would be down on the row area, and vice versa. And it was like a well-oiled machine, depending on which side that we were shooting out of, or if one of us wanted to go lower, we were able to help each other out and do that. And then the other nice thing is we all shot BTS for each other. Between Jared, Manny, and I, we all shot for each other at some point to capture all the clips that you're seeing across all of our videos, I'm sure, either now or coming up very soon. So that was just great. Also, having people in your car that know how to be quiet. You shoot on silent shutter. You're not trying to attract lions or anything else from jumping on top of you and, you know, being annoyed by the noise. So just some things to note if you ever go on safari. Don't make any sudden movements or move around a lot or noises or any of it. Let's jump into editing some of the landscapes. Luminar Neo absolutely shines with landscapes. And full disclosure, I tried editing this photo of a silhouette, not in Luminar Neo, in another program. And because I had exposed more for the background of this really pretty sunset, unfortunately, it was just a wee bit noisy. So the shadows, when I pulled them up, were really noisy and it was almost unusable. But in Luminar Neo, I was able to use their noiseless AI feature and it worked like a charm, really pulling out the speckles, especially the color speckles, and it made such a difference in the images. And then of course, just overall being able to use the AI enhance for accenting the sky enhancer for all these landscape photos was absolutely incredible. And the fun part was it didn't really take a lot of time. The only thing that took a lot of time was that I had to sit here and decide what I wanted to do because the possibilities just were endless because of the power of the program. Overall, I'm not the best landscape photographer in the world, but I wanted to capture some of these images and really enhance them to what I was feeling and experiencing that day. And Luminar Neo just took it the extra mile, cleaned up the image, definitely had the noiseless feature help a lot, but also the sky enhancing was really nice for all the landscape photos. The R1 I would end up picking up when I knew that focusing was going to be fast or challenging or going to be behind certain elements, things in the foreground. So I don't know what else I can say about the gear. I didn't miss a monopod. Next time I'm not bringing a 16mm, and if anything, I would probably just bring a 2x extender instead of the 1.4, or maybe I would bring both because it's just a little thing. You could just throw it in and no problems at all. I have so much to say. There are going to be a lot more videos, but I just wanted to give you an overall recap, show you some of the behind the scenes of everything that we did. Really happy overall with the trip. I'm gonna have a separate video when it comes to the Masai people. I have a lot to say and I want to say it correctly and with intent. I don't want to say it flippantly and I don't want to show the images and the experience that I had without some real backing. But what I am gonna say right now, all of these images that I've shown you here, all of my final images from Africa are for sale. I put up a Squarespace website. They are for sale for a limited time. I don't know how long that's going to be because I'm recording this video preemptively, but they're on sale and they're not on sale for me. I am donating 100% of the proceeds from the sale of any of the artwork that you purchase on the website of my photos. 100% of the proceeds are going to build wells for clean water for the community, for the Masai people, because clean water is absolutely a problem and it's one that I think we can help very clearly. So I encourage you to go, check out, you can see all of the final photos from this Africa trip there. And then while you're there, consider purchasing something that's going to help others in exponential ways by helping them provide clean water. And I also have to thank Canon for helping me with this. They provided all of the printer, ink, and paper that's going to make it possible for me to create these and also lessen the cost so that more of this money goes towards building the wells versus going towards paper and ink. So thank you so much to Canon Canon for that. And if you could spread the word about this, maybe you can't afford to buy a print, which I am going to personally sign every single one of them. Maybe you can't afford to do that right now, but you can afford to just click share, and it would mean the world to me. And I'll talk more about it in another video, but it would just absolutely mean the world to me if you could help the Masai people. Anyway, stay tuned. I've got more coming with all the fun Africa, and see you later.